Welcome, everybody, to this episode of the Image Review at Dezi.life. And I'm Carlos, and I'm going to go ahead and discuss this beautiful portrait from our friend in Minnesota, Dietrich Gask. Great portrait photographer friend of mine. Submitted to the channel in the early days, and really just kind of been there for me, kind of as a friend and as a mentor, both kind of as a human being and as a photographer. Really great guy. If you're in the Minnesota area and you haven't hit him up, I think he's in the St. Paul area. I met him, I think last summer when I was in Charlotte, when he was in Charlotte. So, to the image. This is a beautiful portrait. Now, kind of like I say most of the time, I'm going to consider this as a consumer of the image, like as in if I was the customer receiving the image. And then I'm going to look at it kind of again, a second glance, as a art critic in air quotes, where I'm going to discuss more of the technique and things like that. So from the get-go, if I was the consumer and I was receiving this image in a sales session, I would absolutely love this. If I was this person, I feel like I look beautiful. I feel like I look like I'm having fun. It's a beautiful day. There's some great textures in the image, and not that I would notice the textures that much, but it just strikes me, there's a lot of great things happening. The overall vibe is just this kind of fun, earthy. I like it. It just has this nice elegance to it. Now, taking off the consumer glasses, putting on the fine art glasses, let's go ahead and dive down into what works really well about this image. And a lot of this is geometry, in my opinion. And what I like about it is the kind of this repeating pattern that starts here, or, is here in this area. Lost my icon. So here, it starts here, and it's also repeating here, just these kind of posts everywhere. But these, because they're so run together, really don't have that same feel to it. And that's kind of okay, because she's the focus on this area here. So it's almost like a framing element. So if we were to draw this line and extend it out right above this right here, and we have this line coming up right here and extended, here we have a really nice frame. And that's working out really, really well. And then it's kind of getting accentuated again. Like this pattern right here, I'm really just kind of entranced by it. Because if I were to keep going there, so you see kind of how that repeating pattern kind of bend to the left, it really kind of does work well as a framing element. And it's almost kind of ghostly repeated with the actual horizon line leaning down to the right. So that kind of line element I do enjoy. Now, typically when I tilt my horizon or tilt my my overall camera to do the composition, I like having a strong vertical element as my subject. So, and I'm kind of torn because I really like the way it's posed right now. I would kind of sit there and see what it would look like. I wouldn't mind seeing what it would look like if she was leaning actually against the left-hand side. That way, as her lean would come in this way, it would almost straighten herself back out in the composition as a whole. Now that lean line's a little bit exaggerated. So it would be a much more subtle lean line. It would be kind of like, sure, here. And with that tilt, it would kind of almost make her feel a little bit more vertical. But again, I'm kind of torn because I like the way it is now because if I put her here, I'm going to go ahead and lose some of that repeating framing. So that's kind of one of those things where definitely say something about that in the comments if you think it should go one way or the other. But for the most part, I like the way it is. And say, now I wouldn't mind having a little bit more of this silvery texture inside the lake here. This is just a little bit too bright for not being as if it was a continuation of it, that would kind of really enjoy having that silver texture there. Looks like it really wasn't possible just because of right here. If I can tell where the caps are, they look like they were being hit by direct sunlight. So it's like this is the few areas where there was probably shade there, and just kind of dissecting that is probably just wasn't feasible at the time of shooting it. But for the most part, though, that's one of the few things I would kind of pick at, is if we could get some of that silver texture in the background. Now, I really enjoy giving my subject a decent amount of space And if I were to, turn this into like a 20 by 30 on their wall or something, and I'd really do put in the extra time in post to get rid of this post. Oh boy, puns. So that would be one of the things that I would get rid of if I were to turn this into a 20 by 30 canvas. Now, or bigger. Go bigger, go home, right? Okay, so, and then the only other line I would adjust, and if this would be more on the posing side, is this right here. So I usually, especially with the arm how it is, because it's almost bent at a 90-degree angle and kind of going towards the camera, it's really shortening that forearm a significant amount. I mean, here we have the dropped forearm, and it's just beautiful, lovely. It's going across the hip line, and she's got really elegant fingers going on. Everything about that side of the pose is working great. It's almost like a traditional S curve, and it just works really, really beautiful. That arm right there is the only thing that's just kind of not falling in line with the rest of that pose. If it was kind of coming back down to the hip line here on a more elegant obtuse angle, her arm would fall right there on kind of near the side of her hip. It doesn't have to be on the hip, but just kind of in that same line, and it would kind of continue to follow the line of her leg like a traditional S curve would. And that would be the only thing I would adjust about that pose. Because she looks lovely in the image. She looks like she's having a great time. And, the rest of the image, like I said, I love that framing kind of bending off, and the fact that it is tilted to kind of give that extra little bit of emphasis to this kind of cube that she's in with all those lines coming around. Yeah, that's pretty much all I see in this image. Like I said, D-Trick, you did a wonderful job. I love the way that your, say, clients interact with you and your subjects interact with you. It's always been fun. They always feel like they're full of joy. Keep it up. And for everyone else, I hope this was helpful. Definitely, share your comments or share your opinions in the comments. Especially the one about the lean. That one's definitely got me, torn a little bit. But yeah. So we'll see you on the next one. And until then, go out there and create something amazing. Bye.